2016, I went to Indianapolis. I was at a theater, and I'll never forget this night. My show was over, and we was looking to watch the Xavier game. The NCAA tournament was on, and me and my opener and my road manager at the time, we went to this place. It was called Tiki. What the heck is this place called? It was a club in Indy, right? And I guess it was a club that it was like a country bar normally, but on Thursday night was hip hop night, aka Black Night. So we go, and we got there like 10:30, and we were just looking for a place to watch the Xavier basketball game. So they had us in this back room. So there's people there, but we don't know it's crowded. So now it's like 12:30. I just remember we was in Indy on Friday, and we were in St. Louis on Saturday. So we had like 7 or 8 a.m. flights. So we were done. We had a couple drinks, but we were like, we got to get out of here. So we're trying to leave now. We leave this back room where we was able to watch the basketball game, and now it's packed. The club is jumping, and it's 90% black people in there. But security's all white. So now we're making our way out the club, right? We're trying to get out of there. And I just remember this one big bouncer was sitting there, and he was talking to this white girl. And the white girl literally, like, pushed my shoulder. And I thought she knew me because people were like, oh, shit, Gary Owen. And so I looked back, and I thought she gave me a face, so I'm thinking she's kidding. So I had my hand like this, and I rolled up my hand and gave her the middle finger. But I was kidding. It was nothing serious about it. I was like, oh, because she pushed me in the shoulder. You had to be there. It was like a vibe. It was nothing serious. The dude talking next to her, who's one of the bouncers of the club, grabs the back of my shirt, this arm, and starts taking me out the club, right? So as he's taking me out, now all the black people in the club are like, oh, snap, that's Gary Owen. So now I'm taking selfies as I'm getting kicked out. So on the way out, I'm going, I'm still having fun with it because he goes, you got to go. I said, I was leaving anyway. So I didn't really care. You kind of escort me out faster than I would have liked to get taken out, but it's still I was leaving, so I wasn't making a fuss. So he gives me a shove when I get to the front door, and he kind of pushes me out, and I stumble a bit, and I kind of look back, like, why you push me like that? As I'm looking back, my opener, who's going to remain nameless, he's on his way down. They choked him out. He's like, boom. He hit his head on the concrete, and he was just laying there. And I'm like confused now. One, I did have some drinks in me, so I'm not in the right frame of mind just to think completely logically, but nothing will sober you up like seeing the guy you're with get choked out. So now my guy's laying there knocked out, right? And phones are coming out everywhere outside, like people taking videos, pictures. And I will say, to my opener's credit at the time, he was still partying. He got knocked out, and he was still smiling on the sidewalk. He was like, in my brain, I was like, dang, he's still partying. He's still at the club. So now I'm all confused. Discombobulated. I've come to find out what had happened was when the guy grabbed me by the shirt and grabbed my arm, my opener was hitting him on the back of his shirt like, hey, man, you ain't got to do that. We leaving anyways. You ain't got to do that. When he was tapping that guy on his shoulder, another bouncer came behind him and got him in a chokehold and basically choked him out and then threw him out. They had 2 police officers outside this nightclub. And I looked at him and I said, you just going to let this happen? And the one cop looked at me. He goes, I didn't see nothing. I just saw your boy get choked out. And I was like, got it. Told my road manager, Brad, I said, Brad, call the cop. Call 911. So he calls the cops, right? And he calls other cops, basically. And at this point, I'm still looking at the bouncer dude, and they're just looking at me. And I said, where's the manager? And he goes, I'm the manager. I said, you're not the manager. Where's the manager? So somehow the manager comes out. And me waiting on the manager, now I'm going around to everyone taking videos and pictures, and I'm going, hey, I'll take a picture with you. Could you please delete that? I'll take a picture with you. I'll do a video. I'll do a Snapchat, whatever you want. I don't even know what was around at that time. I don't know if Snapchat was around at that time, but I was like, I'll do whatever you want. And so now I'm watching people delete the videos, and no videos ever got released of this, and no pictures got released. And now I'm taking pictures, doing videos, and my guy had come too, but he's just still kind of groggy. And then my opener was acting normal. He didn't remember what happened. He got in line to go back in the club. That's how out of it he was. And now the manager, we go across the street, right? And I'm talking to him, and I said, dude, I said, we're not like this. If you want us to leave, we'll leave. But this is uncalled for. I said, we don't get in fights. We don't get in arguments. I don't roll like that. I said, if somebody goes off on me, I'm dipping, regardless. I ain't that dude. I gotta prove myself. I'm out. I know how shit can go left fast. I've seen it. It just happened. But my opener just got choked out. And he was like, yeah, but that girl said you hit her. I said, what? I said, I know you got cameras in the club. I was like, so why don't you pull the cameras and then we'll see if I hit her. I said, I've never hit a dude in my life, let alone a girl. And then he said, well, my security said you hit her. I said, dude, your security's lying. I didn't hit nobody. I was leaving. The girl pushed me in the shoulder. I thought we was kidding around, and I gave her the middle finger in a fun way. Like I rolled up and rolled it down. And then he just was like, I'm kicking you out. And he said, well, that guy's been working for me for like 10 years. I believe his word. I said, well, just explain this to me then. If I hit the girl, why is the black guy choked out? Because my opener was choked out. And he was like, he's kind of looked at me. He goes, you guys want to come back in? I said, no, we don't want to come back in. And then the cops came. So the cops show up, and now they're talking to the other cops because they're all Indianapolis police officers. And the cop's like, we got this. I go, no, I'm sorry. I tried to talk to you, and your quote, I'm quoting you, I didn't see nothing. I saw your boy get choked out. So I don't want to talk to you. I'm going to talk to him. And these other two cops was real cool. So that when you call 911, they automatically bring an ambulance. So now my opener gets put in the back of the ambulance. I talk to the cops. I give them a statement. I said, I'm kind of off the record here. I don't want to be on the record and blah, blah, blah. I said, because I told him, I said, I'm married. I ain't supposed to be out right now. I don't want this going out in social media and everything else. So basically what happened was the cops took the statement. I call my guy Amp Harris. If you're in Indianapolis, you know Amp. Amp's the guy in Indianapolis. So I call Amp the next morning. I tell him the whole story. He calls like the Chamber of Commerce. He calls all these people. All of a sudden, now the owner's calling me. The owner, I don't even know if lives in Indianapolis, of this building. And he was like, we're very sorry what happened. I said, I ain't gone to social media and I ain't made a post, even though I don't think I was going to, because I was married. And I was like, I didn't want to deal with my ex talking about, what, you was at a club, didn't tell me? Because even when my opener got loaded in the ambulance, I told my roadman, I said, yo, go with him. I'm going back to the hotel. I can't be here right now. So I went back to the hotel. And I remember when I saw everybody at the airport next morning, they was calling me. My roadman just called me from the hospital. Like, he's good. They checked him out for concussion. He just got a small concussion, but they don't think there's no bleeding on the brain or nothing like that. Because you got to be careful your head hits the concrete like that, because his head bounced like, ba-donk. So, we're at the airport the next day talking about it. And then I get to St. Louis, and that's when I got a hold of Amp. And he's telling me, he said, yo, that particular club, they don't like black people. They just like black people's money. And that's why they basically, quote unquote, tolerate that night on Thursday, because they make so much money. And I look back, that makes sense, because it was kind of a country bar vibe. It was all white security, all white bouncers, but it was all black people that night. And I was like, that's interesting. So what ended up happening was, I don't know, because I've let this guy go and I haven't talked to this dude in like 5-6 years. But what I remember, I think he told me, was he ended up getting a lawyer pro bono. So he didn't have to pay the lawyer, but the lawyer took like 30% of the settlement, 35% of the settlement. And I know he got broke off a nice chunk of change. But the owner of the building called me the next day when Amp got a hold of him and threatened to make a post, and they don't need another racial incident at this club. And that's when the guy was like, look, we heard what happened. We're sorry. We fired that bouncer. We let him go. We're letting go of the other bouncer that kicked you out. And whether they did or not, I don't know. But I remember he said that. And I just remember I never saw anything on the internet about it. I never saw anybody post anything about it. And I was just like, what are the chances? A guy gets choked out and nobody ever found out about it. And I probably took 15 selfies and did videos on people's phones so they delete it to make sure it didn't get released. And I, my ex never found out. I told her later on, years later, I told her what happened, but that night I was just like, I didn't say nothing because I was just like, even though I didn't do anything wrong, I remember thinking I just didn't want to deal with the whole you was at a club, that's why you shouldn't go out and all this stuff. I just didn't want to get quote unquote scolded. So I was just like, I just ain't gonna say shit.